Hey everyone, come check us out at The Experience this Monday, March 6th at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's our usual time. We'll have all your favorites, Dynamite, Marvel, DC, and everyone will be here. Rex, hopefully John, Robbie. I'll come in if I feel like it, and you definitely know Nick will. So no matter what, it'll be a good time. Remember, it's March 6th. It's a Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, only on The Experience. See you then.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and it is Friday. That means it's time for the Rex and Robbie Show, and today we're going to tackle the conversation that was started on our show over at the EXP Comic Collectibles with Dynamic Forces with Rex and John and Rockin Robbie. That was on Monday. Somebody posed the question, DC, Marvel, as far as movies go, who has the brighter future? If you had to pick one to gamble on, what do you think? Who's going to win out over the next few years? And you can't have the Rex and Robbie Show without you out there in the chat. So we want you to participate, but also my homie Rex. What is up, man?
Happy Friday, man. I am ready for this week, Dad. I am so tired this week. I have no idea. And then that question, I think it was Easy Go Lucky on Monday, threw it out there. We talked some about it on Wednesday. This is one of those big open-ended questions, dude. We could talk about this for months until DC finally releases the Flash. It's bad and we all hate it, and then we know who's going to win this contest, right?
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, this is something that's going to evolve over the next few years because the James Gunn era in particular, that's not even really starting until what, 2025?
Yeah, this is such a loaded question, right? Because I don't know. I don't know if it's an apples to apples question, only because it's like, I don't know, it's like a track and field race, right? But you've got one person that's starting way up in front of the starting line, and the other competitor is way back in the starting line, still at the starting blocks, right? So I don't know. I think it's a risky question, and the premise is that MCU is really going to start faltering, and if that's the case, that's the assumption you're making, is that unfortunately underlying this question is, if MCU is faltering, stumbling, then DC has a chance to catch up. All right. So I don't know. But I want to say hi to everybody. GT Key Comic, Two Gun Pedro, Pew Pew, Raul, Christopher, BJ, and Cerebros. What's going on, man?
Yeah, what's up? So I guess the question is, who's going to rebound? Because you can look at the money, and a lot of the MCU films from Phase 4 have been successful, but a lot of them haven't. And critically, they haven't been as successful. They've had some that were critically successful, like Shang-Chi. And then they've had things that were just bombasted by critics and fans, like the Eternals, right? Then you got the plethora of Disney Plus shows. And we've talked about this, about maybe a possible oversaturation. Maybe that's lost some of the magic that really captured the audiences for 10 years. They're throwing in all this stuff, right? And now that we're having this conversation after the news that Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania now has the second biggest drop from week 1 to week 2 out of the entire MCU, right? And I think the number one biggest drop is the Eternals, but that's still kind of like when people are back in the theater now. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are going back to the theaters. People are watching these things again. People are out and about, and we're getting back to a point of normalcy, it seems. But it seems like cinemas, they've kind of like, I mean, Top Gun made a lot of money last year. A lot of movies are making lots of money, but like Ant-Man dropped significantly. And for a movie in which they're trying to bring out the idea that Kang is the next big thing, I don't know if that's good. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think
You
that
know
the
what?
MCU
I
is
got to be honest with you. I once again have to question the metrics they're using. Okay, so everybody says it's going back to normal, and I'll raise this point: it's never going back to normal. Okay, and this is not a statement on the pandemic or COVID or anything like that. Certain things happened to the movie industry during COVID, right? And I don't think there's any way that you can go back. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. And what I mean by that is the first thing was we stopped going to movie theaters for obvious reasons, right? So then everything started to the studios out there built up their streaming infrastructure, and everything was streaming and everything was going to streaming. The whole reason that Scarlett Johansson had that big lawsuit with Disney over Black Widow, right? Because all of a sudden they shifted how they were doing it, understandably so. So now we know more or less when things are coming out to stream, right? So again, we've discussed this. There are people like Amy, people like John, they're in the movie theater. There's something about that movie theater experience that they love, so they're going. Okay, so that's one end of the spectrum. Then there's the other end of the spectrum, guys like me. Okay, I just don't want to go to the movie theater. It's expensive. It's a pain. I don't feel like I'm getting that much more from the big screen. I just, the whole experience itself, it is not, I'm not a guy to go watch movies by myself. I'm just, I'd rather sit on my couch. So I represent the other extreme. What about those in the middle? Okay. Those in the middle construct most of or make up most of the movie going audience. So you got to ask yourself, how is their psychology changed now that we've gone through the pandemic and everything shifted? So maybe that explains why you see such a severe drop off and you really can't compare it to Eternals in a sense. So how many of these people are going, well, it was an end game. The critics, the quote unquote critics are bashing it. The fans seem to like it. Is it worth going out and making the effort to go see the movie? And then again, you've got people who, I've got to see it this week. I got to see it opening night, Thursday night. I got to see it Friday. I got, bang, bang, bang. And now they have. So are we all just sort of waiting until it streams before we do anything? See, I think that's why the metrics don't really work anymore. You've got to find new measurements because of the significant change, the fundamental change, if you think about it. Movie theaters were getting ready to go out of business. Okay, Regal, whatever the parent company is, I forget the name, declare bankruptcy.
Yeah. Well, and
there's something there.
I grant you, like, obviously we're never going to return, like, movie theaters are not going to rebound to where they were when they were the most successful, like decades ago and stuff like that. Right. So as far as the sliding scale, though, it seems, I think we're about as normal as the movie going audience as we're going to get. But regardless of the numbers or Ant-Man and what it's doing week to week, there has been this lack of this. We want this to connect. Then you got reports coming out like maybe the MCU doesn't have a plan, this and that. And it just seems like both are at this precipice right now where DC's about to launch this whole new plan in a couple of years with James Gunn. We're going to start getting announcements for that. We've already gotten the announcements of the movies. We're going to start getting casting news. We're going to start getting looks, and stuff like that. We're going to get our first look of whoever the new Superman is in costume. That's to come. So there is a way to build excitement, right? Now, we talked about how Marvel, even though that right now it seems like they're just kind of throwing a bunch of new ideas out there and trying to see what can click and trying to see if they can eventually make it connect, they still got the X-Men looming on the horizon, right? So they both have things that they can put into, and they're both at a moment right now where I feel like it's make or break. Definitely for DC, we know that. But I think Marvel's at that point too, because I was watching this podcast the other night, and they were saying if Marvel movies continue to not perform well with audiences or just kind of get a mediocre mid-level response, and they don't have anything that really stands out for a series of films all the way through these new Avengers films, that's big time trouble for them, right? But right now, they've got the history, they've got the brand. But I'll say this, between the both of them, and I know we're not officially in the James Gunn era starting yet, because that Superman movie is going to be the first thing, and that's like 2025 or something. And before that, I think is the Creature Commandos animated series, actually. But I don't think either of them are going to have a good year this year. I think Ant-Man's going to underperform for what they're wanting. I think Guardians is going to do strong, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to hit $1 billion. And then you got the Marvels, and I don't think the Marvels is going to do the numbers that they necessarily want. Now, DC, I think Shazam's not going to do well at all. The marketing for that's been kind of weird to me. I don't think Aquaman's going to be a disappointment, because if it doesn't make $1 billion like the first one did, then that's going to be a disappointment to Warner Brothers Discovery, right?
But you see, here's the thing. I think you're again talking apples and oranges, because at what point did it become $1 billion as being the mark? Okay. At the end of the day,
made $1 billion. That became the mark. Any Aquaman movie that doesn't make $1 billion now.
My point is this: is that ultimately, and I'll go back to the Shazam Black Adam comparison. Okay, what did the movie cost you to make? That's got to be at the foundation. Okay, so that's number one. So the $1 billion mark, well, then it's not a success. Well, that depends what it cost you to make, so on and so forth. But here's why I think it's really not a very fair comparison, because I think that when you look at Marvel and you look at DC, they're being judged by different parameters, right? So everything that Marvel pumps out, and we talked about this Wednesday, everything that Marvel pumps out is expected to reach the level of Endgame. And if it doesn't, it's considered, not good, not a hit, not a success. It's not as good as Endgame. Now, they released some truly bad movies, okay? Thor, Love and Thunder, okay? Truly bad, okay? On so many levels. Eternals, wrong director, great director, but wrong director for this genre, okay? You had a star-studded cast, and you didn't really use them. You had instead focused on the two nobodies that nobody really cared about in the sappy sort of eternal romance. Who gives a crap, okay? So you really lost people with that screen base. So they did put crappy stuff out. Black Widow, I don't understand the universal dislike of it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. Shang-Chi had an inevitable change to its origin story, because quite honestly, the way that it came out when the comic originally came out, that's not going to work in this day and age. Okay, it's just not. Okay, Fu Manchu was a very divisive character. Okay, and was created during a period of time when the Yellow Peril was a common political thing. So they had to switch it around. I kind of like the way they did it. I kind of like the way they did they brought in the Iron Man 3 fake Mandarin. I always thought the concept of power rings being 10 rings on his finger was kind of goofy. First of all, it feels like a Green Lantern ripoff. And rings of power on your fingers, dude. You just have too much bling on. So I like the way they adapted that, right? So I feel like Marvel's being judged by this excellence. DC doesn't have that problem. Let's call it what it is. Regardless of what's coming out of the studio, regardless of James Gunn paying lip service to a movie he was never really involved in, okay? And the constant, it tests really well. To who? Can we get one of these anonymous testers to tell us what they really thought? No, we never hear that. It tested really well. We're not shelving this. That sounded more like a defensive maneuver because of Batgirl. They shelved that, right? So really what we all think is, well, I'm hopeful that The Flash isn't going to suck, but it's probably going to suck, okay? They've dropped the ball so many times. It's like that running back. I hope he doesn't fumble, but dude, he leads the league in fumbles, so he's probably going to fumble, okay? And every defensive back is trying to get him to fumble, stripping the ball, right?
I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think the most successful superhero comic book movie of the year is going to be The Flash. I think The Flash is going to make over $1 billion. And I think the reason why is because of Michael Keaton. When that Super Bowl trailer popped, all these people were like, holy, they don't know anything about Ezra Miller. They don't know anything about the background noise that James Gunn's taken over. They don't even know that. They're just the general audience watching Super Bowl. They see this trailer. They see Michael Keaton back as Batman. And I saw so much stuff on social media, people just being like, Michael Keaton's back as Batman. That's going to put people in that theater. They're going to go see that movie. I think it's going to be a huge movie.
I got to be honest with you. I don't know if it is or isn't. Okay. I do feel like the Michael Keaton thing is a big deal. Absolutely. But my point is this. We're so expecting them to screw it up. when it doesn't screw up, when it's not, not Endgame, but not bad, we're all going to be like, wow, that wasn't bad at all. They have such a low bar to jump over right now. We're all expecting that it's going to be awful, whatever. So if it's even marginally good. So I guess my point is, you take that same movie and you flip it to an MCU movie. And that same movie is going to, people are going to be very critical. Oh my God, they so missed the mark. It's horrible, whatever. Whereas if it comes out of DC, I don't think the fans will be that critical. I really don't. I think we're just expecting such a train wreck from anything they produce, because everything they've done has turned out to be a train wreck, with the exception of the Robert Pattinson Batman, and then of course the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, which have no relationship to the universe. Okay, so independently they were good films, but again, were they that good? All right, I think the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, I think Joaquin Phoenix is a tremendous actor, and they totally took a different take. Batman, I enjoyed it. I kind of liked the muscle car Batmobile, but ultimately, was it that good? It was just the same origin story again and again and again. A different outfit.
Personally, I think the Batman's okay. I know a lot of people really like it. I do like the Joker film a lot, but Aquaman was a big success for them too, and that was a Snyderverse planted movie, and the reason why the $1 billion mark is in fact, it's not even $1 billion anymore. They want to make $1.5 billion, like Avatar and Top Gun. You know what I'm saying? Like now we're pushing that boundary even further.
Let me say this about the Joker film though, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Joaquin Phoenix in that role without the Joker makeup. Movie still works.
It totally works because it's just a Scorsese homage, basically, right? It's Taxi Driver meets King Comedy is what it is.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, and so I like it for that. But the fact that, it doesn't have to be Gotham. You're right. It takes that painting off. And I think that actually accentuates how good that story is, or how good the movie was. Now, I know it's a divisive film as well. A lot of people have their ideas about it. I think what's really going to be the key to this, who has the brighter future, is number one, when James Gunn's era gets going, does it build momentum? And will it be able to build momentum with like a year of nothing, right? Because they're talking about 2025, right? Isn't that the dates that they're telling us? So yeah. That means DC is not going to have anything for 2024, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it'll let people kind of like settle down, kind of forget about it, and then they get to come out with the Superman movie and see what happens. And the other thing is Marvel going to regain their momentum? Because regardless of what you think, momentum has been lost. It's not the same as it was. No one expects it to be the same as it was in the middle of phase 2 or 3, where we knew we were leading up to this big grand finale. But that's going to be the big question. I don't know if Marvel has a plan. Did you hear about the recent stuff coming out about people saying there hasn't really been a plan? It's just been about introducing a bunch of stuff, and then later we'll try to tie it together. Have you read that report?
I have not, no.
Yeah, so some insiders apparently, and once again, like you said with the test screenings, like who are these people? They live in this mysterious fictional land somewhere, right?
The anonymous sources,
the sources and the insiders. But just the idea that I feel momentum's been lost. Will they be able to pick that back up? I think they can, especially since they got Fantastic Four and X-Men and more Avengers films on the way. But they got to really start stringing these successes together. And I think it's going to be a rough couple years for both Marvel and DC, but then I think there's going to be a resurgence. What do you think about that?
I think that, I think that there's the MCU is definitely on top of the mountain. So when you're on top of the mountain, there's always somebody ready to take you down. So there's a lot of criticism. They've lost momentum. They haven't done this. They haven't done that. But let's keep in mind, okay, it's been a long time, but you look at phase 1 and we all kind of feel like this nostalgia, and it all led to, Endgame, and that was the good old days. There's a kind of a feeling of that going on right now. So we talked about this Wednesday when Alec was on. So really, when we look at phase 1, I got to be honest, the first Thor I thought sucked. It wasn't that good. It really wasn't. It was slow. It was kind of meandering. I just didn't see it. So what was so great about Thor, the first Thor? The second one wasn't much better, was it?
I really
That
like
was-
the first Thor movie myself personally, but that's okay. I'm not going to be angry or nothing. Go ahead.
No, you know what? I watched it. I love Thor as a character growing up, but I just felt like if I look back at it, was it that much better than Black Widow? I don't think so. I don't see it. So that was a different era, right? Again, with DC, who the hell knows with them? You know, their problem, you know, if James Gunn can overcome that problem, then that they face year after year was that there were too many talking heads, too many different voices, too many directions, you know, as you can tell by what they released. Can James Gunn solve that problem? If they leave him alone and let him, you know, kind of come to realization of his you know his plan, his map, yeah, I think it could get better. Okay, you know, obviously the ground floor is so low at this point, it can only go up. But you know, in terms of how people are reacting, well, somebody mentioned oversaturation for this genre. There has been a heavy oversaturation, and with the two competing with each other, you know, it's really been, yeah, we've been buried. And then coming out with, you know, the streaming series and everything else, it's getting harder and harder to find that nut, you know, and I don't think they're going anywhere. I don't think all of a sudden people are going to turn their backs on it, and you know, we're not watching. I think the complaining will continue. You know, it's just lack of a better, you know, anything else to do. And again, I look at Iron Man and the environment and the time that movie was released. That was a vacuum. We had nothing like this, you know, really prior, or every once in a while, Superman, you know, the Michael Keaton Batman, you know, every once in a while they would come out, but nothing consistent, right? So for the first time, we had something that led into something else and something else. And how much of that was really Robert Downey Jr. as well? Because when you look back at the movie, I'm thinking, I enjoyed it, I liked it, but was it all that? No, it wasn't. Was it because a starving man finally got a saltine cracker? And now we're now the audience, the fans that have a Vegas style buffet, who's eating the saltines now? Okay, I got lobster tail and filet on, you know, down this station over here. See, this nice gentleman's going to cut me a nice piece of roast beef. Who's eating the crackers? But if you're starving and you got nothing and somebody hands you a cracker, that cracker is the most delicious thing you ever tasted. You know, I kind of feel like it's like that, and we're being overly critical right now. And you know, like Black Widow, I enjoyed. Shang-Chi, I enjoyed. You know, a lot of these, you had a lot of people saying, they're missing the mark. They're missing the mark. It's not happening. It's whatever. I don't know. That's kind of my take on that.
I got you. So if you were a gambling man, and as Brian's reminding me and my phone's reminding me, we do have like a thunderstorm coming in. So if like I drop out,
man, I open it on red, baby.
Well, if you were a gambling man, what would you put money on? Who would have more success in the future, Marvel or DC?
Again, I feel like it's apples and oranges, but forced to answer the question, I'm going to say it's going to be Marvel, because Marvel's got too far a head start. So I go back to my track and field example. I don't care how fast you are, how great you are, dude. When you got that kind of a lead, it's going to be hard to catch up. You know what I'm saying? All right. But I believe that DC has an easier road than Marvel does, for the very reason I stated. Everybody is hypercritical about anything Marvel puts out, right? They said, Ant-Man and the Wasp, that there was too much CG. Dude, they're in the multiverse. What's it going to look like? You know, I don't know, what, like Manhattan? I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Of course I got to use CG, because, again, the multiverse doesn't actually exist. Somebody's got to make it up. So I feel like they're being overly critical about anything coming out of MCU, and I think DC is just going to get a pass. If this Flash movie is even marginally good, I think they're going to get a pass. But again, not blaming James Gunn or Safran, because they had nothing to do with it, but you're doing Flashpoint again. All right. So what are you setting yourself up for? You're setting yourself up for the inevitable WB comparisons with Grant Gustin, right?
Yeah.
You're setting yourself up for this.
Okay.
It's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. And they keep doing this.
this was what I kind of briefly said Monday is still how I feel. I'm more excited right now for DC. I'm more excited as a fan to see what DC is going to be able to do with James Gunn and Peter Safran there to kind of build something. They have a plan, allegedly. At least they got a slate of movies. James Gunn says they have a plan. I'm down to see what they're going to do with that. Marvel, on the other hand, there are certain things that I'm excited to see. I'm really excited for Guardians 3. I'm excited for Fantastic Four. Pumped for Blade. So there are projects from both that I'm looking forward to in the next few years, but I'm more overall excited for DC. But if I had to like put money on it, I would kind of go with Marvel, because I think Marvel gets passes nowadays like crazy from a lot of fans and even a lot of critics. And whenever someone starts slightly criticizing a Marvel movie, there are a lot of people that will come out of the bushes to like be like, "What are you talking about? You're wrong. You don't know this," and like that's all right. But there's also a lot of people that have been banking on the failure for DC and James Gunn since that announcement started, since Henry Cavill got let go, right?
All right. So I want to comment on this, and I want to answer Mark McGrath, and then Amy overheard a conversation, so she walked in. So I'm sure she has thoughts to share. But the point I want to make to Mark McGrath is, you see, my problem with your explanation is Pandora doesn't count, because Pandora is a jungle-like, or it's based off of ecosystems on the earth. It looks different. The color's different because it's an alien world. Okay. But you have some foundation to base it on. The multiverse is just out of someone's imagination. So what do you mean the CG was off or muddy looking? You see my point? How can you make an aesthetic judgment on something that really doesn't exist on any level? You know, Pandora, trees, but they're alien trees, right? All right, Pandora, the oceans, but they're alien oceans.
I think what he's talking about, and what I usually mean when I start talking about muddy looking and off CG, is when it pulls you out of the movie and it no longer looks or feels real, and it feels more like a video game or a green screen or something. That's happening a lot with Marvel movies. That's been documented, like that they have overworked their CG artists, like, and they're rushing through these projects, and it's coming across like there's not care to the technical craft of the CG right now with Marvel, in my opinion.
Well, all right. So my second point, and then I'm going to let Amy express her thoughts. My second point to you is, when you say success, what measure are you using? Are you using overall box office receipts? Are you using based on the production costs and distribution costs, you know, and the profit level? Are you measuring by what fans' reactions are? Are you measuring by what critics' reactions are? You see, that's the problem with this question. It's so open-ended. Success is all dependent on what parameter you use as a base.
You're so political. I love it. You're just like, it depends on what the definition of success is. That's fine. Like, for instance, to me, success means acceptance in the community as like something that the majority of people like, right? Who cares about the critics? But also making money is something that's going to be successful. Having social interactions, like those kind of things, all those things that you mentioned together is what I'm defining as success.
All right. Amy's been chomping at the bit here. Okay. So
I'd love to hear Amy has to think.
While constructive criticism is a healthy thing, that's how we get better art and better films. I just feel like, again, like everything's making us debate everything nowadays. I'm just like,
people are just whiny, damn it.
Fun movies. These are supposed to be fun, whether it's DC or Marvel. We're supposed to just have fun with these and just watch our favorite characters come to life.
And Mark McGrath, I haven't seen the movie, so I really can't comment.
When we're just fighting over every little thing now. Guys, calm the F down.
There you go.
They're just movies. Yeah, like, yes, can we talk about how to make them better? Yes, but like, let's not kill it. Like, let's not spew hate all over each other because we just constantly disagree on stuff.
Thank you, 62 Lefty. I appreciate that. My daughter says that when she's mad at me as well.
I'm so far behind the comments, I don't even know what you're talking about.
So I got to agree with Amy to a certain extent. Like, you know, this is entertainment, folks. You know, I think sometimes it gets a little too serious.
There's a car alarm going off.
It's not my car.
Not mine either. So
All
okay,
right.
I just wanted to check. I
All
just
right.
wanted to be sure.
So anyway, mine's a stick shift. So you know you can break into my car, but only 70% of Americans can actually steal it and drive it away.
Amy, if you had to bet
Did I
on
miss the
either DC
Yeah.
or if you had to, Amy, if you had to either bet on Marvel or DC, like within 5 years, who's going to have more success as far as the films go, critically, commercially, however you want to define that? Who would you say?
Well, I have hope for both. I hope they learn from each other. I hope both series learn from each other. I think now that DC is finally restructuring itself, you know, by taking a few notes, because like they want to start their own like real, you know, cohesive universe, but they're allowing themselves to like, well, if we really do want something that's not part of the universe, we can still do those things. And I always thought that was the one edge that they had over Marvel, because Marvel still says they want to be one giant universe. And while I commend that, it's like, right, it still restricts you to this specific box. But if DC does start doing well, then Marvel can see like, okay, like maybe we should try a few of those tricks. So I hope it's healthy competition and they learn from each other. So I have hope for both DC and Marvel.
I think a bigger problem actually lays in the future for both of them. All right, as they compete in this market. I think the relevant question is how much more superhero films and universes will the market absorb? Will the audience absorb? Because you're pumping them out, and we're seeing, at least from the MCU side, the side effects of it, and that is now when you've got a smorgasbord of movies and series, people become more picky. When you start, back to my saltine example, when you start criticizing one kind of lobster over another kind of lobster, you've had too much lobster, bro. Okay. All right. Yeah. This one's a little overcooked and kind of rubbery, but this one is just right. I mean,
unless your job is to review and compare lobsters, right?
Sign me the hell up, dude. Where do I need to get in line for that job? I am there.
You need to talk to Mr. Cole about that one. I bet he can get you. I bet he knows somebody that can get you in.
I could do a little side business of reviewing steaks as well. Okay, starting with the Kobe cut. All right. I'm worried about how much, because we've touched on this before on the show. What happens to those movies that have come out? We've talked about Top Gun and success Top Gun Mavericks had, and that's great. But most of that is nostalgia. That's my generation, and around my generation, remembering watching the first Top Gun. Oh my God, after all these years, they finally, and Tom Cruise doesn't look like he's aged at all. Oh my God, this is going to be fantastic. So there's a sense of nostalgia. Who's going to come up with the next Top Gun? That's what the fear is that's getting pushed out as the slate has nothing but, and then now you have Marvel, who obviously is producing them at a clip that is unreal. And then you have DC gearing up to try and chase them. So how many movies and series does this mean? And then what happens, to films like that, like a Top Gun, like a Titanic? I agree, Matt. It was lightning in a bottle, Missing Link, but there's so many in the past of films like that. Okay, going as far back as the 70s, Taxi Driver. Okay, there have been these hits that have been just one movie that have come out, and I feel like that doesn't exist anymore, really. If you think about it,
it doesn't really exist because all these studios want to just try to go with what they feel is the safer route, which is to spend a lot of money to try to make a lot more money on something that's going to build a franchise. Everybody's looking for the next MCU or the next Harry Potter or the next Fast and Furious, right? Instead of just building these smaller movies, these standalone movies that are just trying to tell stories that may be original and not necessarily adaptations of something else.
You want to talk about lightning in a bottle, Missing Link. Okay, Fast and Furious was totally the definition of that. Who really thought that would end up being where it's at? Okay, you look at the very first movie, it just looked like one of those movies with fast cars, kind of cool, whatever. And then to the last one where, they're taking a Pontiac Fiero into space. What, are you kidding me with this? That was lightning in a bottle. But when the field is crowded with nothing but superhero movies, how do movies like this get made or even seen? That becomes a problem, I think, more so than the original question itself. But honestly, you know what? At this point, Marvel has just got to maintain. Okay, don't get complacent. DC is just got to try to not screw it up. And from that point forward, who ends up in 5 years being a success? Who knows?
You just wait until the biggest movie of the year is the Super Mario Brothers. You just wait, because it probably will be.
How funny would that be, though? Seriously,
it'd be great. The movie looks great. It looks awesome, and it looks like something that will appeal to a lot of people.
It looks like one of the best, like, technically animated made movies in a while. Like, is this from Sony Illumination, right?
I don't know. Is it?
Someone might have to correct me, but like whoever made the movie, like, this looks amazing. Like, just I'm like, it's colorful. It's like, wow. Like, so,
all right. So
if that movie is a success, great. Like,
yeah, it's Illumination.
All day. I love doing this show with Robbie because the topics always seem to be kind of open ended. We can just go on and on. But I did want to talk about, we're doing something new with Robbie. Just got it all set up yesterday. It is the Pop Culture Philosophers shop, and it is set up on a Shopify store, of which I believe, Robbie, I sent you the link, right? So
yes, the link in the description below for everybody, just so you know.
We're gonna right, exactly. So we're gonna be helping Robbie out, trying to generate some sales for him on the back end. So basically, the shop will have, and we'll be replacing it, but very much like our show on the Experience, we have one copy of each item that's on sale. So you can certainly, if you see something that you like, and Robbie, what are we gonna do? We're gonna run through the items real quick before the end of the show.
Yeah, here they are.
There we go. All right, and all of these are available in the link that Robbie has on the bottom of the screen, and they're all available for sale, and the prices are there, and we'll ship it out here. And of course, we're helping to support Robbie's channel by doing this, and we'll keep it fresh. So if stuff starts to sell out, so the store will eventually grow as well. And the store set up, PayPal, credit card, however you want to pay it. We'll have Rockin. Oh, that's right. By the way, Robbie, did you get an email from Amy?
Are you talking about, like, I got a package being sent to me? Is that my numbers?
Which we will make available for sale on Robbie's PCP shop. All right. I don't know what we're going to price it at. I'm going to have to look at the quality of the work, but you have 3 blanks coming. We had promised this back on the Experience a while back, and I'm sorry, I kept forgetting, right, to send it to you, but I finally remembered one day, had him pull 3 blanks. So we're going to see the Robbie artistic talent, and those will be available for sale at Robbie's shop on Shopify.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. I got the notification. I was like, oh my goodness, I think he finally sent me the sketch covers. And I'm not saying I'm Ken Hazer level, okay? But I'm telling you, people would pay money for a Rockin Robbie sketch. I'm just saying.
We shall see.
We shall see.
We really shall see. All right. So to run through the books real quick, you got them on a floater there.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're looking at is Joker, You're the Villain #1, signed with the Zombie Joker cover sketch by Ken Hazer. We love Ken Hazer. And it's just a retail of $89.99. And we have the one available on the site for $40. All right. What next you got up, brother? Okay. Let me see. Magneto, Mutant Force. I'm going to find that on my sheet. All right. Heroes Reborn, Magneto, and Mutant Force #1, spoiler variant, signed by Bernard Chang. We have one available, #1 of only 15 signed on Robbie's site for $39.99.
Then we got this Marvel .1.
Marvel .1 looking, they got to alter it a little bit so it doesn't look like Samuel L. Jackson. But all right, hold on, let me find that Marvel.
If you'd rather go down the list, it's probably quicker if you go down the list and I just find the.
Yeah, you want to do it that way?
Yeah, let's do it that way.
All right, so Flash Forward #1, signed by Scott Lobdell. All right, so that is number 15 of 60 signed, and we have one of those, and that's available for $19.56 on Robbie's site or Robbie's shop. And then we had Marvel Now .1, which had up signed in silver by Matt Fraction, and number 7 of 10. And we have that one available for $69.99. Then we have some vintage books up for Robbie as well. Star Wars number 41 from 1980. And it is a presumed grade of 6.5. And Amy does the grading in-house, and she is strict like a Catholic nun when you went to Catholic school. And we have that one available for 40. Then we have a Silver Age book, Daredevil number 18 from 1966. And it is a presumed grade of a 5.5, first appearance of Gladiator. And we have that one available for 75. Then we had Generations Forge number 1, signed in silver by Dan Jurgens. Suggested retail $69.99. This is one of our special Rockin Robbie discounts. Suggested retail $69.99. We have one available for $19.99. 5 of 15 in the edition. Then Guardians of the Galaxy number 8, Encore edition, signed in silver by Donny Cates. And we have the one available, 1 of 15 signed, and we have that for 50. And then we have the Joker Year of the Villain number 1, signed with Zombie Joker cover sketch by Ken Hazer. Suggested retail of $89.99. We have the one available for 40.
That's gorgeous, by the way.
We love Ken Hazer's work. And a little bit of Kirby Crackle in the background. All right, then we had Garbage Pail Kids, Gross Encounters of the Turd Kind number 1, signed with cover sketch of the Alien Ian by Ken Hazer. Suggested retail of $89.99, and we have the one available for $29.99. All right, fantastic, Nerdtastic. You got it, brother. Then this one is one of my personal favorite. Avengers Assemble number 1, 4 connecting sketch cover set of Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America by Ken Hazer. So you get all 4 covers. I love the way they connect. Suggested retail of $359.96, and we have it on Robbie's shop for $196.30. Then we have Heroes Reborn, Magneto and Mutant Force number 1, spoiler variant by Bernard Chang, signed by Bernard Chang. We have the one available, 1 of 15 for $39.99. And then Robbie's personal favorites, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 100, Dynamic Forces exclusive variant by Kevin Eastman, and suggested retail of $50, limited edition of only 1,000 copies ever printed. And this is a Robbie special at $19.84.
Gorgeous cover. I love Eastman's work so much.
So do I. And I know you're a huge fan of the title. So, and then the last item, Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures number 1, also a Dynamic Forces exclusive cover. And this cover is by Ken Hazer. The art is by Ken Hazer. Suggested retail of $29.99, and this one is limited to $750, and we also have it at a special Rockin Robbie price of $19.84. And we will add stuff to Robbie's store. Obviously we've got to take stuff off. There's only ever one of anything available. We'll take stuff off as it sells, and then we'll add more stuff every week. And we'll do a quick preview every Friday after we discuss the topic of the week. And looking forward to DC doing that. I'm sorry, tell me I'm lying. We're all waiting for it.
They keep us fueled with topics. They definitely do. I threw the link out there in the chat. I'll throw it out there again, and it's also in the description below. And we would appreciate any support, but all the support we need is just your participation in the show. So thank you everybody for being here today,
and
participating in the conversation.
There's something that you're looking for or hunting for, whether it be vintage or signed or CGC graded. I was going to throw a CGC up there, but I didn't get a chance to. But I'll do it for next Friday.
Yeah, we'll get one for next one. But yeah, if you're looking for anything, let us know. And if you're looking for us to discuss a certain topic, let us know as well in the comments below.
Yes.
So Rex, what's coming up for you guys?
All right, so tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time, Nick will be back with our original art show. So even if you're not an actual buyer of original art, tune in. It's a great show. You get to see where all of your comics come from. But more than that, generally speaking, Nick always has an interesting story that goes along with every piece of original art.
He started to do dramatic readings.
Oh God, I don't. We got to make him stop doing that. That's really bad. I hate the dramatic readings. All right, this is why I don't listen to audiobooks. Then Monday we'll be back with our buddy Rob. Robbie will be with us on our experience show Monday at 6 p.m. We're going to have some great items. We're going to have Harley's Little Black Book with the J. Scott Campbell line art variant. And then we're going to have this vintage book, Amazing Spider-Man number 328. And we're going to have a ton of Monday show's going to be heavy. I got to send you the list. Heavy on vintage books, sketch covers, that type of thing. We'll have some graded books as well. But always a good time. Hopefully John will be back. He'll be back from vacation. And then Wednesday, of course, we have our 6 p.m. show with AR Comics. Alec will be with us. What do you got coming up, bro?
Oh man, we're about to launch March Madness. That's right. It's time for our like 4th or 5th annual March Madness, where we go in conjunction with Dylan's Horror Show, and we have an entire month celebrating the insanity of cinema. It kicks off tomorrow night on Dylan's Horror Show with the film Clown. It's about a dude who puts on a clown costume to be a clown for his kid's birthday party, and he can't get the costume off, and it starts slowly turning him into like this clown demon. It was really interesting. So that's going to be a cool conversation. And then Monday, after the experience at 8 p.m. Central Time on PCP Movie Night, we're talking about Dario Argento's Tenebrae. So once again, celebrating the insanity of cinema all month long for March Madness. So
I know you are a huge Argento fan.
I very much am. And Tenebrae is one of my favorites from him. So I've watched it twice this week already. No lie.
And Clown. I mean, does anybody wonder why people are afraid of clowns?
Yeah, they are. And if you're not afraid of clowns, this movie might make you afraid of clowns. So that's pretty interesting. But then we'll be back here next week too for the Rex and Robbie show. So everybody check out that Shopify. Everybody, we also got some exciting news that's going to be dropped next week. So pay attention because lots of cool stuff is happening. We appreciate it. Amy, thanks for joining us.
Always happy to. Thanks for having me.
That's right. If you ever bash MCU or DCU, Amy will come running in that door, bro. She was standing there for like a good 3 minutes, kind of staring at me. I knew what the signal was. She wants to get on and express her opinion. Okay?
We love the passion. That's what we're here for. All right, everybody, we're dipping out. Station, pop, pop.